It's a shocking statistic, but a third of people making over $200,000 a year are currently living paycheck to paycheck. We obsess over the top-line number. How much someone makes is cool to brag about, while the quiet, boring habits that actually accumulate wealth get completely ignored. Even at almost 3 times the national average salary, which sits around $75,000, the math catches up to you. After taxes, a $200,000 income is roughly $12,000 a month. If your spending expands to match that $12,000, the account hits zero every 30 days. Earning more money doesn't automatically create wealth. Without a solid defensive strategy to retain your cash, a high salary simply puts you on a much faster, far more expensive treadmill that never actually leads to true financial freedom. Let's look at a controlled experiment. 2 identical people. We'll call them Subject A and Subject B. They are both 20 years old, and they both start out making the exact same income, $75,000 a year. Fast forward 30 years. Subject B has hundreds of thousands of dollars and total financial freedom. Subject A is drowning in stress, counting down the days until their next direct deposit clears. If their starting capital was identical, what specific decisions caused their paths to diverge so violently? The gap between them didn't come from a sudden windfall. It came from invisible, daily behavioral habits compounding quietly in the background over decades. Looking at this graph of their spending over time, you can see the first major divergence. As Subject A gets raises, their spending line rises right alongside their income to match the lifestyle of their peers. Subject B keeps their living costs completely flat. Subject A is up against a biological hurdle. To understand why, MIT researchers used fMRI imaging to map brain activity when people spent money with physical cash versus credit cards. They found that cashless payments physically decouple the transaction from the pain of payment. Because you don't watch physical bills leave your hand, your brain barely registers the loss. Instead, swiping a card triggers the striatum, a region of the brain associated with reward. Your brain flashes with dopamine from the purchase itself, creating a frictionless loop that encourages you to buy more, regardless of the price tag. Unchecked lifestyle inflation isn't a simple budgeting error, it's a biological trap. Subject B bypassed it entirely by intentionally tracking their expenses and maintaining a written budget. The second divergence comes down to leverage. Subject A decides to put $5,000 on a credit card to buy depreciating assets, like a car and some designer clothes. Subject A bleeds $500 a month against a 20% interest rate, crippling their disposable income. Subject B carries zero debt. They route that same $500 straight into an 8% index fund, paying themselves first. Subject B invests for 10 years, then stops. Subject A parties, then saves for 35 years. At 65, Subject A contributed $84,000. Subject B contributed only $24,000, but their 10-year head start makes their final balance completely dwarf Subject A's. Time, not your starting capital or your sheer effort later in life, is the absolute most powerful multiplier in wealth generation. Underneath the math and the biological impulses, Subject A and Subject B operate on entirely different psychological operating systems. Subject A runs on a scarcity mindset. This is a deeply ingrained fear that resources are finite, heavily restricted, and could be taken away at any given moment. This anxiety paradoxically leads to self-sabotage. People paralyzed by scarcity either hoard their cash under a mattress where inflation eats it alive, or they spend whatever they have immediately for short-term gratification, assuming the money will disappear anyway. Subject B operates on an abundance mindset. They do not view money as a finite resource to be hoarded in fear. They view it as a renewable tool meant to be deployed for growth. Because they trust that more money can be made, they are entirely comfortable with delayed gratification. They will gladly spend $3,000 to learn a new skill or buy an asset today, trusting that the investment will yield a positive return in the future. Your external financial reality is ultimately a lagging indicator of your internal psychological beliefs about money. When we jump to the absolute end of the timeline at age 65, the results of this test are locked in. From identical $75,000 starting lines, Subject B is sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars in compound growth. Subject A has spent 45 years laboring just to hand their paychecks over to lenders, with nothing left to show for it. Ending up wealthy rarely requires complex math or the prestige of a massive salary. It is entirely an exercise in mastering your own behavior. To switch over to Subject B's timeline, you have to build an architectural plan for your money. Your defense starts with a tracked budget so you aren't guessing where your money goes. From there, you ruthlessly eradicate all consumer debt tied to depreciating assets, stopping the interest from bleeding you out. Then, you play offense. You pay yourself first by automatically routing a percentage of your paycheck into investments, and you relentlessly keep your living expenses below your total income. You do not need a $200,000 salary to rewrite your financial destiny. You just need a plan and the quiet, daily discipline to execute it.